Welcome back to Growth Leaders, the show where we explore the real stories behind leadership, resilience, and the people who move companies forward. Today's guest is someone who has lived leadership at a level most of us only read about. Lisa Hammond is a seasoned global HR executive who has navigated CEO transitions, merger and acquisitions, integrations, complex global teams, and some of the toughest organizational environments you can imagine, all with a coaching-oriented, human-centered touch. What makes Lisa's story powerful is just not her accomplishment, but the wisdom she's gained through disruption, reinvention, and growth. She's someone who leads with heart, clarity, and courage. And today, she's here to share the life lessons behind that journey. So let's dive in. Lisa, you are so much welcome to our Growth Leaders show.
Thank you so much, Peter. I so appreciate the invite and the time to learn from you and chat through our journeys.
Let's do that. And you are about to leave Veradigm. And as I had here in my intro, I mean, you've been through a number of CEOs, and now there's a new CEO, and it's time to move on. And he's putting his team into the place.
Yes.
It's a company which you've served for 10 years, including the acquisition of Allscript, which you were on, and continued. And how big is Veradigm today, about in number of employees?
So today, Veradigm is sitting around 2,300 employees. I think when I started, we were about close to 10,000 as Allscripts, and 2,300 is partially in India, part in Bangladesh, and part in the U.S. So it's a diverse population.
And that is an interesting journey. I've been myself through journeys where I've gone from 600 to 2,500 employees. I've left the company. I've seen that same company going from 2,500 to 230. So I know those journeys are in there.
Yeah, amazing.
The thing is, they are so full of enrichments in terms of experiences, but also the toughness mentally. Your role has been Chief Human Resources Officer, heading that development of the company. When living through the CEO transformation, and actually you've been through sale, you've been through a delisting of NASDAQ. So what life lessons are there, from a high level?
It's funny when I hear somebody say it back to me, it sounds terrible, right? Nobody wants to go through an audit and delisting and multiple CEOs. And then on the other hand, you think about it in terms of, if you had imposter syndrome before, it's probably gone away after you go through a few of these tough times, and it really clarifies for you how you want to lead, how you can lead, and it really helps you understand what it takes to keep the people, the talent in place through those times where you don't have big spikes in turnover, you don't have a loss of the key talent. So I think for me, it was really the biggest learning is, what can you bring to the table that's going to help the organization feel stable, feel positive, feel that there's opportunity coming, and without, getting sucked too far in to the dark hole, because it's easy to go there.
Yeah, and I would imagine, when you have a downsizing, you also have a table which doesn't have the biggest budget in the industry, most likely. And I know you made wonder what is there? Is it a Danish story about cooking soup on a spike or nail?
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you protect yourself, your mental well-being, when it was most chaotic?
I think for me, it's funny you just said that about the cooking story, because I just had a moment where I went back to the early days where I was in Girl Scouts here in the U.S., and we learned how to cook in a Maxwell House coffee can, which I don't even know if they make anymore, but you learned how to cook. And it just flashed to me when you were asking me about the leadership stuff, that you really have to be adaptable, right? You may only have a coffee can or a nail, and you better figure out how to feed the village with that. And so I think for me, there's a couple things. One is you cannot lose your sense of humor. If you've had one coming in, you must keep it, and you need to share it with others, because there's got to be some energy, positive and fun energy in every situation, regardless of how serious it is. And the second thing is being adaptable. Can I cook the stew with no firewood or no bowl or no something? So I think really it's that adaptability and maintaining that warmth and sense of humor, which for me is how I'm
Yeah.
wired.
But I mean, you need to bring energy, and what gives you energy? I mean, that's
That the the things that bring us energy, it's different for everyone. For me, it's the sense of being part of something bigger and potentially helping people have better lives than maybe what they had before. And then I really harness that for the bad days, for sure.
yeah. So you thrive also in the support, having other people grow. So, I mean, with your eyes, you are a leader, but then when a company goes through chaos, and when I say chaos, I mean that could be, tough times, it could be downturns, or it could be other stuff as such. It does not really matter. But when you look at leaders from there or outside, doesn't matter. So, what behaviors separate the leaders who rise up and who does not when we have this definition of chaos?
It's so interesting. I was talking about this the other day. I have an executive coach that I utilize to help keep me also grounded, make sure I'm, staying on track of what's important. And we were talking about accountability. Accountability is really the being able to have a hard conversation, being able to be truthful or transparent with your team members. And I think for me, that can separate the leaders who rise and leaders who don't. Because I think eventually, in times of turmoil and change, and I know you've been through them as well, it's really that if you can be honest and forthright and really hold yourself accountable for doing what you say you're going to do, and being transparent with your team will continue to trust and believe in you as a leader, because there's the company, and the company is its own being, but within that are a lot of there's leaders, and each of those leaders runs a tiny little bit of that company with the team that follows them. And so to be able to do that well, you've got to be accountable. And there aren't a lot of truly successful, really successful leaders that haven't figured out how to be personally accountable, professionally accountable, and to really be able to say what needs to be said to either the organization or their employees. And for me, that's a learning over time.
Interesting that you bring up the accountability, and that has also been it does not only come from the leader. I mean, we have had that from the very first designs of training. It's accountability training. So yeah, it has to come back to your own. You have to take accountability of your own journey, your own learnings, and your own rights and wrongs as such. I love that because it's very clear. Absolutely. And so if we look at the don'ts, I mean, you've seen leaders grow and, come and go and wherever. Are there any, don't do this, which you can, when you are a leader? Is there any things like that in there?
I'd love to know what your one is. I'll tell you one, and then you can give me one of yours. I think one thing that I've personally learned over time, I tend to be a little bit unfiltered, and I will push, or I guess fight for a cause if I truly believe in it and I think I have the data to back it up. And I have learned now over the years that sometimes the answer is just no. even if the person at the other end might agree with you in principle, and it may be organizationally not the time, it may be, just whatever it is, it's a mismatch. And you have to learn to say, okay, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And I now am
Mm.
going to walk away from the table 100% supportive of how you want to lead or manage this, whatever it is, personally
Yeah.
or professionally. And you just have to
Yeah,
to say,
and it's so easy to say, yeah, we're gonna try to do it, or anything like that. Yeah, just not being strong in saying no, and that doesn't come to anything from vacation and to whatever it may be. You asked me about one
yeah,
too, and that's another thing which I think is super important is never ever take credit from another person's work. So when you are growing a team and you may be the leader who has delegated to find a solution on something, and then you have that creative person doing just a remarkable job, that's his credit or her credit. That's not yours as a leader.
it's
So
interesting. If you're the right leader, you're hiring smarter people, honestly. I mean,
yeah, and that is also, if you understand the underlying in leadership, you grow as a person, as a leader when you recognize your teams
you
or
do.
people around you.
And life
Absolutely.
is better if they're smarter, right? I mean, I've
Yes.
hired,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
so
that's
awesome.
great. And what about you? When you have gone through here, have you had facing some tough fears with yourself? Who am I now in this, whatever it is?
Yeah.
How you face that?
It's funny. I think I'm moving through, I would be lying and not human if I didn't say I have days where I'm not happy or I'm grieving the loss of the team. I don't know that I'm grieving the organization per se. It's more the loss of the people because those become your daily friendships and
Mm.
your relationships and people you joke with and people you talk through problems with. And so not having that on a daily basis is always a little bit of a mourning period. And I think for me, it's crystallized probably over the past week or so where I've really drifted out of the day to day business, which is good. Um,
Mm.
I think for me, it's crystallized that I think I'm actually good at this stuff. And potentially, it may not even necessarily be HR, which I love and all the things about it, but it also speaks to operations, that a lot of the things I took
Mm.
on are really operations focused and really about helping the organization move together better and solve problems when you can't get people to the table. So I think that's crystal.
Yeah.
Some
It's interesting. So, how have you found? How have you found a process to, start rebuilding confidence when you're there, or that's just your own findings? How is your process?
I'd love to say my ego is large enough that I don't need any of this transition time. I'm a fully formed human with a great ego and everything's awesome and whatever happens next can be great. I am not that person. So I had to sit down the other day and say, what what do people value in me? I had to write it all down like I was my own coaching client. So what do I value in others? And what
Mm.
do and I did. I came up with a sentence of, if somebody wants to talk to me about an opportunity, what is one non-negotiable? I figured I could come up with one non-negotiable in next. And I think that's helped me kind of center on at least the type of organization or leader that I want to work for. But it's hard. So I'm not going to say it's not hard.
That I've been in the leadership position, and I have also been in many turnarounds where there's been losses, and what that means is, of course, change management, but it also means you have to free off people from their work and so on. And I would say 8, 9 out of 10 always come out better in a new, because there's normally a reason also when it comes, people keep on working. They are maybe happy, but not happy enough in the real world.
Yeah, and
So, okay.
so many things happening in the world right now. And I did right before I got the news, I had enrolled in some executive education, and that's really kind of boosting my, I guess I would say, just my energy level that I am after I got through and I know you are a guru and you are an education guru, and you'll probably understand this from some clients or students where your brain has to flex to learning again. And there's this period
Yeah.
where I thought, what am I doing here? The people in this class, I had major imposter syndrome. And I thought, I can't possibly learn new things or whatever. And then week 2 came and I started to settle in. And now, we're in week 4 of a 7-month program. And I have my legs now. And then I realized I really needed this. Whatever it was, I needed
Well,
to really refocus on my own development. And so
mm.
I think that's a
It,
lot of it is you're right.
it,
You gotta
it,
take the time to really think about
yeah.
what you want, what
But
you yearning for.
and yeah, no, I fully agree. And now you mentioned something which I got very surprised with you. You said imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and I don't know if everyone knows what that is. You could look it up, but it's in reality, you're not as good as you don't think you're as good as you actually are, if you put it in an easy way forward. So, what triggered you into that behavior or realization, and how often does it come up, or how often did it
Well,
come up?
it comes up quite a bit. It's taken a lot of work to break it down. And I sort of taught myself somewhere around college. Where I realize I gotta fake it until I make it. So I don't
Mm,
fake it, then really I'm showing my weakness to others. And then somewhere in the few years of doing that, I actually started to have success and started, you know, having opportunities
mm,
and getting promoted. And then I started having to force myself to say, okay, so am I an imposter or are there seeds here of leadership and savvy and smartness, and over time you really have to, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, the best thing I can tell you is force yourself to think about what is it I do well, and then look
mm.
around you and realize you didn't get to the position you're in or the life you have or the friends you have or the spouse you have or the partner if you weren't at the core skilled and smart. Right? You can only fake it so far and then it all falls apart. And so I think for me, it was really forcing myself to do self recognition to get out of it, right? Just say, look,
Mm.
I mean, I can remember receiving an award for something a few years ago that my old compadres at another job nominated me for. I'm standing up there and I thought, well, this is weird. How did this happen? And then I literally remember saying, you earn this and
Mm.
people see what you don't see. So you have to absorb what they're telling you and then send it back out into the universe. And
Mm.
it's very hard, but if you're struggling with it, you just put on a big smile. You fake it till you make it. And fake it means it's in you. You just never knew
Yeah.
how to express it before.
And I think now when if you're going through that executive class also, it's a question, but now if you've been 4 weeks, isn't it like that you could actually lean back on your experiences in that class? Because most likely you have a lot of answers, which maybe not everyone has. Uh, isn't it like that?
It really is like that. You don't kind of realize, and this particular thing I'm doing is related to AI and building an innovating product. Building an innovating product I
Hmm.
don't know anything about in theory, but I do know about building systems, I do know about operations, I do know a lot of other stuff. And so as I'm, looking around the class at all these technical minds, I mean, huge, incredible technical minds, I'm thinking to myself, it's okay. Now that we're through week 3, I'm like, no, this is fine. I actually may not know technically what they know. I'm not a machine learning engineer, but I understand business models. I understand centers of excellence. I understand how products get to market. Like I do know all of those things. And so, and I know people, and I know how
Yes.
people are reacting to AI, and I know, what that means to the company. And so it's kind of interesting to see that instead of sort of sitting back like I might have done 20 years ago, going, oh my God, why did I sign up for this? This was a terrible idea. I don't know anything. These people are, the CIO of Unilever Global's in this
Hmm.
class. Like, what am I doing here? I kind of said, well, I'm going to learn a lot. These are people I would never come into contact with, and it's going to be fine. It's
Yeah,
going to be fun. And, you know,
it will. And now, if we look at your younger self, one leadership advice or two, which we can then bring to other younger generation coming up here. What lessons would you provide, or what lessons took longest to learn? That could be another way to look at it.
yeah. So I can specifically say when I was with Pizza Hut, I was young. I was probably um, late 20s, maybe early 30, like probably right around 28 or 30. I was really, really got too focused in on a promotion or what's next, what's next, what's next. I always thought about what's next. And that is actually not the question.
Hmm.
I realized later, reflecting back, that what's next is not the question. What can I do today is the question. What can I do today? And it took a little bit of reflecting on that experience to understand that the role is to be here now, not be there in the future, but be here now
And
and really
and then
contribute in the best possible
yeah,
way you can, and things will come. Just,
yeah.
yeah.
Then the results
Yeah,
comes, and it's the results bringing you forward.
right.
So I'm gonna put you to some rapid fire round
Oh
questions here.
boy. These are going to be, I know they're going to be hard. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. One word that best describes your leadership style.
Collaborative.
What was it?
Collaborative.
I'm sorry. Collaborative. Yes. And a go-to mantra when things get tough.
GSD. That's what I would say. Which is get stuff done on this podcast, or another word you can substitute at will.
One word you want people to feel after working with you.
Mentored.
Mentoring. Yep. 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 And finally, I know you have been looking into that. A book you think every leader should read.
Ooh, so I have two, but the one that I'm into right now, this is this simple little book by Charlie McKenzie. He wrote it about 5 years ago. It's called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And it's beautifully illustrated. It's a book that I gave my team because it's just these messages of hope and joy and power. And as these animals and the boy complete their journey, the boy says thank you to the horse, and the horse says, look how far we've come. Instead of the end, it's look how far we've come, and we still have more to go, more to grow. And so it's just a book that some leaders will not like because it is not going to give you some nugget of how to get rid of bottom performers or any of that, but it's beautiful.
So it's you actually telling a story about leadership. And that is so more remindful many times than you should have ARR of XYZ as such.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, you're such a valuable person. It's such great talking to you. And I would like to thank you being on Growth Leaders by Shot. And I wish you all the best moving forward to your dreams.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and hopefully we'll be able to sit down and have soup someday in Sweden. That'd be amazing.
You're most welcome. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.